Well, hi, boys and girls. It's Mr. Wassman, and I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to discuss this assignment entitled IR Summary and Analysis that you will find in today's agenda and our module. This is the assignment here. It's in Canvas, and basically, it's going to require you to read a book and tell me about it. Let's take a look at the instructions. Choose a book that you're interested in reading, any genre. Now, we had just visited the library on Friday, so you had an opportunity to check out a couple of books. Hopefully, you brought one back or brought a book from home. If you don't have a book on your person at all, you'll need to borrow one from my classroom library. But ideally, it should be a book that you are interested in reading. Okay. And what you're going to do is you're going to spend some quality time in class reading that book. You don't have to finish it. You can't sit and read a 300-page novel in the span of 30 minutes, but I do want to see how much can you read in the span of 30 minutes of uninterrupted reading. Now, that's not 5 minutes of reading and then, checking things on Canvas or doodling in the margins of a notebook or just sitting with the book open in your lap. I want to see you reading. Okay. Now, once you have finished reading that, then you're going to write a response. Okay. That response is going to be using complete sentences in paragraph form. And there are going to be 3 paragraphs. Okay. Now, before I tell you about each paragraph, let me tell you what the goal here, our standard that we're working on, is to analyze what text says explicitly, as well as draw inferences through citing several pieces of textual evidence. Okay. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to identify in the first paragraph what you read by stating title and author, fiction or nonfiction, genre of the book, and how much of it you read. Again, I don't expect you to have read the entire book, but tell me how much you did read in that 30-minute sitting. Okay. Secondly, you're going to give me a detailed summary of what you read. Okay. Now, if you read a work of fiction, you're going to be using some of the exposition from the book. Who are the characters? Where and when does the story take place? What is happening to the characters so far in the book? Okay. If you're reading a work of nonfiction, you're going to tell me what you learned about the topic of the book. Okay. Now, again, I'm looking for new facts. So if you're reading a book on elephants, don't tell me something obvious that you already know, like elephants are big, they have big ears, they have long trunks and tusks. Tell me something new, like how long is the expected lifespan of an elephant? What makes up their diets? Things like that. Okay. And then the last paragraph, you need to be demonstrating your understanding by making some inferences. These are the connections that you make with the text that go beyond what's on the page. So if you were reading a work of fiction, describe what you think is motivating the characters. How do the characters feel about one another? Make a prediction about what do you think is going to happen next. If you are reading nonfiction, then you need to think about, well, what's the author's purpose? Why did they write this text about this subject? How do they feel about the subject? Why did they include certain text features or use certain words or vocabulary? Okay. Your response is due by the end of the class period. So that means you should be spending about 20-25 minutes in class writing about the reading that you've done after you've spent about 30 minutes reading. So this is going to take the majority of your class period. Okay. Now, I have included an example of a summary and analysis in this PDF right here. Okay. You can read the entire thing at your leisure, but I also have it pulled up over here. And I just wanted to point out a couple of key features. Okay. That first paragraph is not going to be very long because you're just identifying the book. Title and author, it's a work of realistic fiction. I read the first 5 chapters in this example, ending on page 32. Okay. The meat of the article or this response is the second and third paragraphs, particularly the second paragraph, where you go into a detailed description of what happened. Okay. So describing who the main characters are, where the story is taking place, when is it taking place, what did they do in the 5 chapters that I read so far. And then down here at the bottom, I make some inferences. Now, I want to point out a couple of things. A couple of the inferences that I made refer to specific parts of the text. For example, although she was somewhat anonymous before, I'm sure most of the students now know who Kara or who Kara is now, and are probably wondering about what drove her to write such an editorial, risking her standing in Mr. Larson's class. Several students confronted her about it on the bus ride home in chapter 3. So I'm pointing out a specific area of the book where something happens. I go into a little bit more detail right here. It says Mr. Larson seemed embarrassed by his outburst by the time he had gotten home. In chapter 4, on page 24, Mr. Larson reflected on the incident, stating, and then I quote a bit from the text directly. Okay, these are examples of where I cite evidence, where I point out to in the book when something happened. Okay, so take a look at the assignment. Look at the rubric. This is out of 10 points. This is the descriptor for what you need to do to earn 10 points for the assignment. Okay. And once again, this assignment is due by the time you leave class on Tuesday, the 15th. Okay. So please use your time wisely. Ask for help if you need it. Otherwise, I will talk to you soon. Thank you.